Hey, everybody, it's Jon Fleischman with SoDoesItMatter.com, where we're all California politics all of the time. And if you're tuning in now, this is our much awaited, much promised interview with my friend Michael Gates. Michael has the distinction of being the only candidate that I have endorsed for statewide office in this election. I've tried as kind of an independent writer on California politics to not endorse candidates because then it forces me to do this and disclose that I've made an endorsement. But Michael's a special case. He's been a dear friend for a long time and a champion and a hero. As I like to say, Michael's one of those people that, like, if he or I are shooting into the mist, we're going to jump into the foxhole. We're going to shoot at what the other one's shooting at. And then, like, on a reload, we're going to go, who are we shooting at? Right? There's certain people out there that are just wired the same way you are. And you just kind of know that you can count on those people. Michael, you're one of those people. So welcome to Straight Talk here on So Does It Matter.
It's really, really good to be here. Thanks, Jon.
All right. So we're catching up to your campaign as we sit here just a couple weeks out from Election Day. And so the first thing that I want to do is give you some congratulations because you are the Republican nominee for Attorney General in this state. And that doesn't happen by accident because there's plenty of people, I know how it works in California, that would like to take on Rob Bonta. And so the fact that you made your case so convincingly and so clearly that you were able to wrap things up at the close of filing has allowed you, I suspect, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, to keep your eye now right. You get to be focused on the general election right now, although you get to anyways, we'll get into it. Michael, why don't we first start with just a real basic reminder. If you're watching this, I kind of assume you've met Michael. You know Michael. We did a podcast with the Golden Ticket with Steve Hilton, and Michael was a part of that. But Michael, why don't you just kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
Real quick.
So there is an update on the race. So I'll allow you to get us into that in a minute. But just a very, very high level introduction. I've lived in Huntington Beach my whole life, married almost 30 years, got 5 kids and 4 grandkids. I absolutely love California. I was born in the Midwest, and my parents moved us to Huntington Beach, California, because my dad got a job at McDonnell Douglas. And my mom and my dad were absolutely in love with Huntington Beach, in love with California. And I think it's in my blood now because I have been, as you know, as city attorney for 10 years prior to going and working for the Trump administration last year. I got to work as the city attorney in Huntington Beach to fight for California. And I was fighting for Huntington Beach, but I was fighting for everyday Californians in Huntington Beach. And that, I guess, that work that I was doing to fight for the folks in California and a lot of the battles that we had, the legal battles that we had in Huntington Beach, and actually those were good battles for all of California. So the work that I was doing was just so rewarding. I was very, very passionate about it. And frankly, when I worked for the Trump administration during 2025, so when I was in DC for almost a year working for the Trump administration, I actually wanted to come home because I felt like I was missing something when I was not fighting for California here on the ground in Huntington Beach. So to be back in this race, to be back in California, to be in this race, right? Frankly, just feels natural. It feels like it's the perfect fit for me. So I'm in my element right now, and I have a whole list of things that I'm going to do on day one, which I know we will get into. But as really a fighter for Huntington Beach, I mean, people might know I was the architect of the local voter ID law. I was the architect of Huntington Beach's declaration that's a non-sanctuary city. I fought Newsom, and we beat the state of California and brought back $38 million in tax reimbursements that Sacramento was refusing to reimburse Huntington Beach for. I fought COVID closures. I fought for our police department when our officers were sued for doing their job. I would take those cases to trial, multi-million-dollar cases. So I joke out on the campaign trail that I'm actually a real lawyer. I've been in the courtroom. I've tried many multi-million-dollar cases. And I'm even admitted to the United States Supreme Court. If I was called upon to argue a case tomorrow and appear before the U.S. Supreme Court, I'm certified and admitted to that bar and could do so. California has an opportunity to have a real lawyer as the AG.
Right. So at this point, mainly what you have to do is to describe to your wife every day about how you've been doing the work that should bring you a 7-figure income, all on a public salary. So
absolutely right.
Right. So, well, I guess since you said there's an update in the race, why don't we just start there? Give us a snapshot of where the race is. And then from there, I'd like to talk more about what you would do on day one. And then we're going to talk about Rob Bonta. So update. Day one, Rob Bonta.
Perfect. So when it comes to the race, as you mentioned, we were very successful in clearing the field of other challengers. I know of 2 other relatively high profile figures who are going to jump in this attorney general's race. And because my campaign came out so early and cleared the field, meaning we snatched up all the support and endorsements that are necessary to get a campaign started. We effectively discouraged them from entering this race, and we cleared the field. So that was a really, really big deal, frankly, back in January and February, to clear the field like that. Because as you said, now that I'm the only Republican in the race and it's me versus Rob Bonta, that simplifies the race and allows me to focus on other things, like just focus on fundraising, focus on more endorsements, rather than spending money on competition for the June primary. So as the audience knows, in the June primary, the top two vote getters advance to the general. Well, because it's largely me and Rob Bonta, there is a third Green Party candidate, but I expect she's going to get a few percentage points from Rob Bonta, actually. So I'll still be one of the top two vote getters. We're going to advance to the general in November. And so that's my focus. When it comes to my campaign, we have over 2,000 individual donors to my campaign. We've raised $1 million. So, John, I don't know if you know this, but we literally hit the $1 million mark about 3 days ago. So pretty recent news.
I
We
saw
put
the
out some
release.
press on that.
Let me add in here, by the way, that if you're not one of the 2,000 people that have donated to Michael, there's a link right below, and you should add yourself to that list.
Thank
And
you.
if you are one of the 2,000 people that have given, well, I think you should match your contribution. All right, go on. Go
Yeah,
on.
thank you. Well, and so that's really important. So we raised $1 million, which is amazing. Frankly, a lot of people are saying I'm outpacing any other candidate in this race with the amount of money that we have raised. But there's two things to that. One, that suggests the overwhelming support that we're getting for our campaign. It's not easy for an attorney general candidate, especially taking on an incumbent, to raise money in an environment like this. It's very, very difficult. So for me to be raising and even outpacing governor candidates is pretty remarkable. But the other thing too is it signifies that we're very, very competitive for this race, which is why Rick Grinnell, as you know, has endorsed me. Like you, he has only endorsed me as a statewide candidate in this race right now. So you have chosen me, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your endorsement. But likewise, Rick Grinnell has said, Michael, I am endorsing you because you can win. I don't know about the other statewide races, but I know you can win. So I'm throwing my weight behind you. So we've got great endorsements. My list of endorsements is very long, almost $1 million, as I said. We're singularly focused right now on fundraising and getting ready for the general election. And the other part of how is our campaign doing, I will wait, because it has a lot to do with Rob Bonta, right? So in a lot of ways, it's how strong are you, but on the other hand, it's how weak is your opponent. So we'll get there in
All
this
right.
interview, I know, but we're well
So,
positioned right now, and we are spoiled with the blessings and the support that we've been getting from the community.
well, that's great. And obviously, $1 million benchmark is a great place to be. But I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell everybody who's watching. It's going to take much more than that to take on Bonta. And so this is just the beginning, and it's going great. So you get elected. We're now saying, I'm just waving a magic wand. You've gotten elected, and that legislature hasn't changed. It's still supermajority full of Democrats. What do you do in your first? I know you well enough to know that there is a very clear to-do list. And as a matter of fact, we probably could do 5 podcasts on your to-do list of what you would want to do. But what would you want to share with people watching this so that they kind of understand? I don't want anybody to go, well, what's the point of electing a Republican attorney general if, God forbid we have a Democrat governor still, maybe, and we certainly will have a Democrat legislature. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I could easily make the point, what's the point of having a Republican governor if we still have Rob Bonta, our attorney general, in office?
Right.
Because people on the campaign trail often say, "Well, you're just the lawyer for the governor, so what's the point?" And I say, "No, no, 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 no. That's a very grave misunderstanding of what the attorney general role is in California." So, pursuant to the California Constitution, specifically Article of 13, where it lays out the attorney general's authority, the attorney general has a lot of independent authority. So, you mentioned the legislature. The legislature holds the purse strings to funding executive offices, but beyond that, there really is no authority that the legislature has over the attorney general, and likewise the governor. What I plan to do on day one, I will do on day one, with or without cooperation from the governor, with or without cooperation from the legislature. And here's why: because the Constitution specifically says that the attorney general is the chief legal counsel for all executive offices on the one hand, but it's also the top law enforcement officer for the state of California. And so just so you know, there's 58 counties in the state of California. That means there's 58 district attorneys and 58 district attorneys' offices. And then there's also 58 sheriffs and 58 sheriff's departments. Now, the Attorney General, according to Article 5, Section 13 of the California Constitution, has purview over all of those. So I not only have my own staff of 1,200 attorneys when I take office on day one, but I also have the district attorneys and their departments and the sheriffs and their departments. So when I say things like, John, when I say things like, we're going to be tough on crime and enforce Prop 36 on day one, and we're going to have a brand new zero crime agenda throughout the state of California, I mean it. And I don't need the governor's permission. I don't need the legislature to do anything for me. I literally can do that on day one. The reason that we have the crime rates that we have in California right now is because Rob Bonta literally is not doing that. And it's because, and he has espoused this before, so I'm not making this up, but he believes that criminals are victims, that they're a victim of their circumstance and their life circumstances. And so they need to have special
Right.
consideration or certain latitude,
Right.
right?
This is the dogma of the progressive left, that we're all collectivists and that we don't actually have individual responsibility. We only have collective responsibility. It's the
Right.
idea. I'll never forget in San Francisco when they were breaking into the windows of cars to take things, that the elected district attorney of San Francisco was like, "Well, what do you expect them to do? They don't have any food.
No, it's
So
crazy.
we're not gonna prosecute those people."
It's crazy. And when I'm in office on day one, we're going to treat criminals like criminals. And I'm going to work with all of my 58 sheriffs and all of my 58 DAs to not only be tough on crime, but to prosecute. I have said on the campaign trail repeatedly before, if all of my prosecutors, and that means thousands of prosecutors throughout the state of California, because they all work for the district attorney's offices, if they don't have a zero crimes agenda in their jurisdiction, they're not doing their job. We're going to get the feet off the desk. We're going to roll up our sleeves. And as prosecutors, we are absolutely going to get to work and we're going to be tough on crime. They really should all be advocating and zealously advocating for criminal justice and zealously prosecuting crime. If they are not doing that, they are not doing their job. And we're going to put our prosecutors to work up and down the state of California. Just for a little bit of context, California, among the 50 states, is one of the highest crime states in the union. So it's number 6, according to FBI data. California is one of the most dangerous states in the nation because we're ranked number 6, highest in crime. Now, you juxtapose that to Huntington Beach, where I was the chief prosecutor for 10 years, and we actually started a city level criminal prosecutor program where we started cracking down on crime at the city level. We were working with the DA, but we did it at the city level too. We reduced crime by double digits in the first year alone. And now, John, out of nearly 500 cities, Huntington Beach is in the top 10 safest cities. So you compare that to what Bonta has done, right? Across the nation, Bonta is the top law enforcement officer for California, and yet California is nearly highest in crime out of the entire nation. But Huntington
Well,
Beach, on the other hand,
yeah, I'll tell you, Michael, I don't know if you get it, but every Saturday, the attorney general sends out an email from his office and every time you look at it, I mean, except, he's always got 6 or 7 things in there. Maybe sometimes there's an actual, what I would call public safety issue, but he spends all of his time. It's literally every day. What have I done to sue the Trump administration this week? And
yeah,
it's
he's
like his
focused.
eye,
Yeah.
while the Constitution says he's the state's top law enforcement officer, I feel like he's kind of like dismissed that. Like,
Well, his priorities are all wrong, and it's all politics driven. John, you probably know this as well as anybody else. The general public does not know this generally because I've been out talking to them on the campaign trail. Rob Bonta is a political actor. He's a career politician. He spent 10 years in the legislature before he was appointed by Newsom in 2021 to fill a vacancy because Becerra was our attorney general and went to work for the Biden administration. So the seat was vacated. Newsom appoints Bonta. So he plucks him out of obscurity, plucks him out of the state legislature, and plops him in as our attorney general in 2021. So he has continued to act as a politician. I say he's been running cover on
Well, the way he immediately turns around and as attorney general and endorses his own wife to fill his own assembly seat so that they can lard up with 2 big public paychecks. But
Yeah,
we're going to talk about Bonta in a minute. So getting back to day one,
yeah,
day number 1, job number
yeah.
1, no crime. We've got
No,
a no
no,
crime
no
agenda.
crime. So the list is long, but I'll give you a few things. No crime. We are going to protect the constitutional rights of Californians. That includes the First Amendment. And you see with the Stop Nuke Shirley Act that our First Amendment rights are under attack, but our Second Amendment rights are also under attack. So California is considered anything but Second Amendment compliant. Just to give, and we're going to do a lot on Second Amendment, but just to give the audience one quick example. On day one, I'm going to issue notification to all 58 of my sheriffs that if they do not issue CCWs or concealed carry permits in their jurisdictions within 90 days, they're in violation of the Second Amendment. So we're going to be really, really tough on defending the constitutional rights
Great.
of everyday Californians. We're going to dismiss all of the lawsuits that Rob Bonta recently filed, not filed a long time ago, but recently filed against hospitals, including a children's hospital, to force them to perform trans surgeries on minors. So we're going to stop mutilating our children on day one because I'm going to dismiss those lawsuits, and I'm actually going to notify.
Doesn't it really say something that you have to have on your top to-do list when you go into office? Stop defending the mutilation of children. I mean, it blows one away that that would even be on a list.
And not
Alright,
only
keep going,
And
keep
not
going.
only that, but I'm going to announce to the medical community and the schools that are grooming children for trans and try to cover for their trans surgeries and encourage their trans surgeries. I'm going to notify everybody that if they're involved in that activity, I will prosecute them. We will find them in court, and we will be prosecuting doctors and hospitals that seek to mutilate our children. So these are just examples of things that we're going to do on day one. We're also going to be compliant with all federal laws, including elections laws, immigration law, First Amendment, Second Amendment, but also Title IX. We're going to protect our young girls in sports and education and get the boys out of girls' sports and the young men out of young women's sports. So there's a long list of things that we're going to do just to get back, John, imagine this, just to get back to law and order. We're just going to get back to the basics. We're going to protect the most vulnerable in our society. We're going to protect the constitutional rights of our citizens, and we are going to return California to a law and order state. So there's a long list where we can talk about corruption too. I'm going to fight corruption. We're not talking about
We
lengthy
got
and
time. Talk. I'm not rushing you through. Spend a few more
well,
minutes.
yeah, so we're not talking about lengthy and protracted investigations that lead to nowhere. We have seen, as Californians and even as Americans, we have seen our high level officials investigate everything, and they take forever to investigate. Nobody ever goes to jail. But to me, what justice looks like in situations like this, where we're seeing nearly $500 billion of lost taxpayer money through waste, fraud, and abuse, there are bad actors, there are criminals involved in this. And that's why I say Rob Bonta has been covering for corruption, because that 500 billion has happened over his tenure over the past 5 years. But there are bad actors. They need to be prosecuted swiftly and diligently. So we're going to put people behind bars. And John, what people are just now learning as I'm out on the campaign trail talking about this, we're going to claw back that money. So I'm going to use the criminal justice system to find the small islands, the mansions, the yachts, and the bank accounts. We're going to liquidate that money, and we can return it to the taxpayer, because I know a lot of that money is going to be hard to find. But if you imagine 500 billion, if we even get 25 cents on the dollar, that's thousands and thousands of dollars that we're going to be able to return to the taxpayer. And all of this can be gotten through the criminal justice system. So there's a lot of work that I can do on day one. And like I said, John, like, nobody can get in my way. Nobody can discourage me. And if people are wondering, well, what if you don't have DAs that are cooperative, like George Gascon in LA or Chessie Boudin in San Francisco? The law also says that as Attorney General, I have so much authority, I could set those uncooperative DAs aside and reach down and prosecute those cases myself. So there's going to be no excuses and no exceptions. We are going to get to law and order by way of fighting corruption and by way of criminal law and by way of complying with federal law on day one under my tenure.
Yeah. Imagine what it would feel like if somebody's the local DA and you have to come in and prosecute for them because they're not willing to actually enforce the law. I think that you're going to have to do that exactly once, my friend. And then the headlines will be merciless, and the other DAs are going to be like, you know what, everybody, let's have a conference. We don't need Attorney General Gates coming into our county, so we need to do our job. So one other thing that I'd love you to chat about for a minute, and then we're going to move on to Bonta, but because it's a pet peeve of mine, can you talk about this power under the Constitution that allows the Attorney General to develop the title and summary for ballot measures, how it's been abused, and how you would reform that system?
Yeah, so it has been abused. It is the exclusive duty of the Attorney General to, as you said, write the ballot titles, but also prepare the summary for any ballot initiative. And if folks don't know what that means, these are the props that the community develops, the people, the public develop these props, and then they propose them for the ballot. They gather the signatures, and then it gets submitted to the Secretary of State, and then it goes to the Attorney General's office for the ballot title and then the summary of what that proposition is or what the initiative is. What we have seen over the past 20 years of one party rule is total deception, absolute, total, categorical deception by the Attorney General to the public about what the proposition is by deceiving, by picking poor descriptions or descriptors of for a title and then the summary. We saw this with Prop 47 and 57. So if you remember back in 2014, Kamala Harris literally wrote these ballot titles and then summaries that basically said Prop 47, it's for safe schools and safe communities, safe neighborhoods, like literally the opposite, right? And then we saw
It
that.
so that helps bad things to pass, and then on the flip side, I can't tell you, as somebody who's involved with this process, how many great ballot measures on everything from school choice, tax reform, and other items that get introduced, and then they put a title and summary on them that are like the Killing Small Dogs and Puppies
Right,
Act. And then you realize we can't go forward because so many voters will be influenced by the deceptive title and summary that you can't really bust through that. Too many voters just look at that title and summary. So I think it's everybody watching. This is a significant reason to want to have Michael in this office because direct democracy in California is thwarted by having somebody in the office. And by the way, I can assure you of this, even although Michael could. Michael's not in that office to do the opposite. Michael's not in that office to say, hey, how do I now skew the ballot measures to be biased my way? What you're going to see is fair summaries of the measures describing exactly what they do.
right,
And that's all we need to
right.
have success in California.
You got that right. And I'll just add this that people should know I was an elected official in Huntington Beach for 10 years, but people know me in Huntington Beach and know me in Orange County as a fighter for Californians. I am not a career politician or a professional politician. I fully expect that when I go to Sacramento, I'm probably going to be making enemies because I'm certainly not going to be looking to make friends. I'm going to go to Sacramento to fight for everyday Californians and do what's right under the law. We are going to return California to a law and order state. So you're absolutely right. I'm going to go to Sacramento and perform the job and to perform my duties with fidelity to the law and fidelity to the public trust of the everyday Californian. So you're absolutely right. And that's why it's so important to actually have men and women of real character and integrity hold these high offices and those like myself who actually love the law. I'm a lover of the law. I love practicing law. That's why as city attorney for years, I was rolling up my sleeves and going into court myself because I wanted to stay close to the law. I wanted to continue to practice the law. And that's where I got a bunch more experience too. So I'm not a politician like Rob Bonta. He was a career politician. I am the opposite of that. I just want to go to Sacramento to fight for everyday Californians.
All right. So, Rob Bonta, let's talk a little bit about him. We can talk about the terrible job that he's doing. Again, that could take 4 podcasts. But why don't we start first? People have asked me, they've heard the phrase Bontagate. I guess there's some, and I know from having covered it a little bit, that the largest single expenditure that the Bonta for Attorney General campaign has paid is something along the lines of $500,000 to the Bay Area law firm of, let's see if I got this right, Wilson, Sonsini, Goodrich, Rosati, which has a very vibrant white collar crime practice. But you know all about this. I know a little bit about it. Can you
Yeah.
tell everybody what's going on?
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of there's a whole laundry list of different corruption allegations going on in Oakland, namely surrounding some political activists, the Duong family, but also former Mayor Sheng Tao of Oakland. And so there's a lot of shady business. And what Rob Bonta has been doing, as you said, he has been questioned by a lot of investigative agencies, excuse me, including federal agencies. There's an FBI probe into bribery related to Tao, former Mayor Sheng Tao, and also the Duong family. And they're seeing that Rob Bonta has close ties to these individuals, not only long-time relationships as friends, but political allies. And so Rob Bonta literally spent nearly $500,000 of campaign finance money, by the way. It's not even his personal funds, but campaign finance money to hire white collar defense attorneys to help him answer questions to the FBI, other federal agencies, and other state agencies that were investigating. And we know that there's actually a trial coming up in October on this corruption. And there's a lot of concern on the Bonta campaign that that trial is going to reveal a lot of evidence that's going to be pointing the finger at him, which is why I'm hearing in large part he chose to not run for governor. So there's a lot of issues there. It's sort of a wait and see on what type of evidence comes out, but you're absolutely right. The question that I always put to people is who spends $500,000 on high-level white-collar criminal defense attorneys, right? It's not usually innocent people. So
Well, I'll add this as well because I've had friends who have been asked to come in and talk about criminal cases before, where they're like, "Hey, the DA's office or the federal authorities are asking me to comment on a case. I need to hire a lawyer," and they hire a lawyer because you don't want to go into an interview or a deposition without your own lawyer. You know what they pay? At most tens of thousands of dollars. Often it's just thousands of dollars, right? So ask yourself what's going on if somebody is saying, "I'm not a suspect. I'm being asked to give some interviews," and he's written a check for a $500,000. It does not remotely add up. He's significantly more involved than somebody who's simply been called in to ask her a few questions.
no, 1,000%. And not only has Sheng Tao, his again former friend and political ally, he was there to swear her into office when she became mayor. Bonta swore her into office, Sheng Tao, when she became mayor. So they're very, very close, and she is now subject to federal indictment. She's already, I think there's over 5 or 10 counts in the federal indictment against her. And then we're now finding out, John, that the former mayor of Arcadia, Mayor Wang, also now subject to federal indictment, multiple counts of federal indictment. And she actually pled guilty as a CCP operative. So she's working basically for the Chinese government. And she was sent here as a Chinese operative, so to speak. I don't even know what you call Chinese influencer here in the US, where she was supposed to be meeting with government officials to influence them in favor of China policies and China priorities. And guess who she's been meeting with? Rob Bonta. So they also have a long time relationship and friendship. And so it seems, and I joked about this on social media, that all of his friends are being federally indicted. And look, it's one thing if you take a photo with somebody and it's just kind of a one-off, you didn't do a background check, whatever. It's another when you have a pattern. There's a clear pattern and a long history of all of your friends being federally indicted, and working for foreign countries like China. I mean, this is kind of scary stuff. I don't think we don't have the whole story, but I think once we do, it's going to really shock people. It's going to be pretty scary as to what Rob Bont has exposed himself to. He's now basically, I mean, think about this. He could be, based on his relationships and his past conduct, he could be compromised, right? If people are saying,
Right.
look, and I've heard worse stories, which I won't mention here on video, but I've heard even worse compromising positions than what we've talked about already. So he's really done California harm by engaging in what he's been engaging in with these people and having these relationships and this conduct. It's really, really compromised California.
It goes on. We don't even have enough time today to really go into how corrupt this guy is. I mean, I was literally just doing research. You probably know all about this. This is a guy who has taken massive amounts of money from, this is one example, massive amounts of money from Indian gaming tribes, and then manages to find some obscure part of the state law that no one has ever dealt with and uses it to shut down the competitors to the Indian tribes and cardroom gaming, quid pro quo, I'm sure, right? And that's just one other. And like I said, we could do an entire podcast. So, but we do need to kind of wrap up. So, what I would like you to do is maybe give kind of a closing statement about why people should help you and where they
Yeah.
could go to find
Yeah.
out more about your campaign.
Yeah, thank you. So people can look at my record, my history. John's endorsed me, which says a lot. I mean, I'm a simple man, but I'm a man of integrity. I've been very, very blessed with a great family, blessed by God with a fantastic legal career. And I want to bring this to Sacramento to try to rescue California. California's in crisis right now, and we just need people like myself who are qualified, able, and ready to rescue California. If you can help and go to my website, gates4ag.com, that's Gates, the number 4ag.com, and you can learn more about the campaign, more about myself, and you can offer some support if you click the donate button. Then also you can find me on social media. So growing my social media accounts is pretty important. We've got almost 30,000 followers on X, almost 20,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook. We also have a TikTok account. So if you can search for me on social media and follow me, interact with those accounts and help them grow so that we can build our audience for the campaign, that would be huge as well. But we have a really fantastic opportunity to rescue California right here, right now. If we don't do it in this election, and John can preach on this as well as anybody else, if we don't rescue California in this election, California may be lost for quite a long time because if Rob Bonta, after everything that he has done to hurt California, put himself first, put politics first over the law, and create chaos and lawlessness in California, if he gets reelected, imagine how emboldened and empowered he's going to be the next 4 years. So California has got to stop the hurt. We've got to stop the bleeding, and we've got to elect new leaders in this election right here, right now. We are in crisis and there's an emergency. We got to fix California right now. So thank you for all of your help and support. And thank you, Jon, for having me. It really means a lot.
You got it. All right, everybody, go to his website and click through from there to all of his social media feeds, endorse them. And then after you've done that, there's a big button there that says donate. And I got news for you. If you can donate $5, great. If you can donate $25, great. If you could donate $25,000, you'll get a personal phone call from Michael. But whatever you can do, it all matters because there are a lot of voters in the state of California, and talking to them costs money. So thank you, Michael, and we'll catch up to you on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.